Today's discussion, ladies and gentlemen, and how do I feel about it? Well, this has been a fun talk. I'll talk to you guys later. Oh, fine. I will sit down and dissect this massive shit show. Honestly, I'm so fucking pissed off. I don't even know where to start. Oh my god. All right. I guess I'll start with how I feel about his return to the MCU. I think it shouldn't even be happening at all. I mean, you're talking about, you know, y- you're talking about a character, you're talking about, you know, if you're familiar with Robert Downey Jr. and his struggles in the past, like, that he struggled with, um, that he struggled, with like alcohol and like drug addiction and all these different and just all these different things. And when he got casted, when he when he was cast as as Iron Man all those years ago, Iron Man didn't just Iron Man didn't just save his career. Iron Man pretty much saved him as, as a whole. I mean, Iron Man, yes. I mean, obviously, Iron Man is obviously, what put him on top and, and made him a big star and yada, yada, yada. You know, but, you're talking about, you're talking about somebody who struggled, with like all these different, like all these different things, obviously, very, very, very serious things. And, like he couldn't, yeah, like I remember like I remember a video that he did, um, or I shouldn't say a video, but I remember, kind of, like a talk that he did, with there was this clip I saw with him and Mel Gibson together, and Downey, was briefly talking about his struggles, with addiction and stuff like that, and um, he actually said, I remember when, um, and Downey was like, when I couldn't, when I couldn't get sober, when I couldn't, um, when I was struggling, Mel told me, not to lose hope. He told me, um, he told me, he told me, not to lose hope. He told me not to give up. He told me, um, and at the time he cast him, and literally, like when nobody else at the time, like when nobody would cast him at the time, Mel Gibson actually casted Downey in one of his movies, and it put, um it helped him put, it helped him put food on the table. It helped him, it helped, it gave him, the money that he needed, to keep going. And but so when he was cast as Iron Man, it was like, Iron Man was obviously, like this big, like massive, like massive deal. Obviously, it kicked, it jump started the MCU. It, um, it put, it put Downey and Marvel on the map. And, um, it put them, it put them on the map. It put them on top for, it put them on top, for years to come. And then they turn around, and then after they kill him off in the best way possible, Marvel and Disney turn around, you know, and then, because of all the fucking bullshit that Marvel has been pulling, you know, um, over the past, over the past few years now, ever since, Marvel Phase 4, when, when the shit show really started to go down and people, and they really started to lose money. Um, and they really started to lose money. San Diego Comic-Con just happened not that long ago, and they turn around, and this is their solution to fucking fix things. This is their solution. Bringing back Robert Downey Jr. Bringing back Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, who is undeniably one of the best comic book villains of all time. There's so many reasons why this is not going to fix things. But let me start by pointing out the most obvious one. You had him as Iron Man, what is undoubtedly and most probably the best friggin' character arc ever seen in movie history. Okay? So, you literally had, you had people, literally for 10 years, you had people, fall in love with this character for 10 years and then kill him off and, and end his story and literally in the saddest and most most satisfyingly way possible. And then just because and and by bringing him back and let me and guess how much Marvel is paying him. Guess how much Marvel is paying him to have him come back. Guess how much Marvel is paying him to come back? Over 100 million. What are they just gonna pull that out of their asses? It's like, oh yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I got $100 million up my ass right now. Let me just shit it out and give it to you. Or, let me just pull it out of my ass and give it to you. Another thing I want to bring up that I talked about in my second, Marvel rant that I did, talking about, their continuous failures. Captain America New World Order, which if you haven't seen the trailer for it, yet, if you haven't seen the trailer for it yet, good. Don't waste your time because it looks like shit. But I don't remember if I mentioned this in my in that last rant or not, but I don't think I did. But There were multiple test screenings for that movie, okay? And and every single one of those test screenings was absolutely atrocious, okay? They spent Marvel and Disney spent almost 400 million on reshoots for that piece of shit. Okay? Almost 400 million to reshoot that movie. Now they are paying Robert Downey Jr. over 100 million over 100 million in an attempt to save the massive sinking Titanic that is the MCU. Please explain to me why you think that this is going to save Marvel, because it's not. It's like they aren't doing it. It's like they aren't doing it for a good reason. They're doing it for a bad reason. They're basically finally admitting, yes, we know, because they're basically, by bringing him back, you're literally admitting, you're basically admitting, yes, we know it should, they're basically admitting, yes, we know it's a shit show. We know it's a mess. We know how much trouble it is. We know how much trouble we're in. Here you go. We just, this is our solution. Here you go, guys. We brought back Robert Downey. I mean, you know, like it would be one thing. It would be one thing if this character, like it would be one thing, it would be one thing, like if he played a character, in like a couple of movies, and then they killed him off and they brought him back, as and they're bringing him back as a different character. But that's not the case. You're you're bringing back literally the main character that your entire universe was built around as a different character, because you're in, you know, because of the financial shit show, that your universe has become. I don't, you know, I have no pity at all for Marvel or Disney. None. Because this is a mess that they created, that they themselves created, and that they refused to do anything about for the longest time. And now, and now by and now by bringing back your most beloved, character, and now by bringing back your most beloved actor, in your movie universe, and you know bringing him back, as a different character, in an attempt to save, your fucking movie universe. I mean, like if I mean, this would literally be like if, like, how the entire Snyderverse was built around Henry Cavill Superman. It would literally be like if Zack Snyder had chose to kill off Henry Cavill's Superman permanently, killed him off, and then brought him back as like Lex Luthor. Right? I mean, it would make no sense. That's basically what this is. That's basically what this is. And it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, you got to understand. I mean, yeah, I know, yes, the multiverse is now a thing, but you got to, you guys need to understand something. And I know I talked about this in my first Marvel rant. Marvel jumped straight into the multiverse concept without even discussing what the rules are for the multiverse. So, by doing that, you're basically saying, yeah, we don't give a shit about about rules and about, consistency and storytelling and yeah, and all those other important aspects that go into making, a consistent, you know, uh a consistent um quality product. You're basically saying, you don't give a shit about any of those things. You just want to continue to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. I mean, and one of the other things that really fucking pisses me off about this is, all these fucking big time bullshit companies, Marvel, Disney, Warner Brothers, they all say, they obviously say, like, oh, we're all about the money, right? But they don't actually take the time to sit down and think about like what that actually entails. It's like, and when they do have a successful movie or whatever, they learn nothing from it. They just automatically think, oh, well, this movie was a success. I just automatically think, oh, well, this movie, was a success. Let's turn it into a franchise and it'll be successful. It's like, yeah, no. Success doesn't just come out of thin air. It's like, okay, this movie was successful. Okay, good. Why was it successful? What made it so successful? Lord of the Rings. Um, Lord of the Rings, the Dark Knight trilogy, um, the Infinity Saga, what made those so successful, right? I mean, seriously, this is not fucking rocket science. I realize, to idiots like Marvel and Disney, obviously it is rocket science, but to anybody, who even has, but to anybody who even has half a brain, I would think would be able to figure it out. I don't know. I just, this is, I know I've talked about this in, um, I know I've talked about this in my rants before, but this is exactly why I left Marvel, after Spider-Man No Way Home, because I knew that I knew that Marvel was losing its edge. I knew that Marvel, was starting, I knew that Marvel was starting to go downhill. And obviously, to give credit where credit is due, it looks like the Fantastic Four movie might prove to be decent. Um, in fact, I just saw pictures of how Galactus, is gonna look in the movie, and I'm not gonna lie, he looks pretty fucking incredible. I'm I I'm very, very, very surprised that they didn't fuck this up. So maybe, maybe by some miracle, that movie will prove to be good. Don't get me wrong, like I would love to be able to take, um, obviously, like I would love to be proven wrong. I would love to be, I would love to be able to be like, hey, I would love to be able, to go see, one of these movies and be like, okay, I was wrong. I take back everything that I said. However, given the amount of things that I have seen and heard, like, remember, like, like, you guys need to understand something. When I make these rants, or when I make these, each video that I make, whether it's a rant, or or a or a whether it's a rant, or or a talk about an upcoming movie that I'm excited about, I do I do a fair amount of research on, um on this kind of stuff before, before I make my video. Like, I'm not just jumping into it and giving, like, my general thoughts and opinions. Like, I'm giving you, I try to give you, like, general facts and actual, like, behind the scenes, like, information on that, on that particular, topic that I'm going to be discussing for that day. So it's not, um, I make, I go, like, I go out of my way to make sure that information is from, an official news source, and not just, from something like, and not just, something from, like, We Got This Covered, or, or Inside the Magic, or, any of those, or like Comic Book Resources, or, like, any of those bullshit, uh, news sites that are just, that are not only, unofficial news sites, but just don't have any idea what they're talking about. Usually, usually when I give you, factual information, it's usually coming from, like, Hollywood Reporter, or Variety, or, comicbook.com, or, Mr. H Reviews, any one of those reliable, any one of those, sources that I know for a fact are legit. Um, um, so in other words, like, if this was, like, if I was, I don't just, I don't just make videos, just so I can talk out of my ass. That's not, you know, that's not, that's not the kind of thing that I do. That's not, like, if I was going to talk out of my ass, I obviously wouldn't be making videos. So, um, but, yeah, no, it completely blows my mind that Marvel was able to afford this. I mean, like, after all the damage that they've been doing, over the past few years now. And, and another thing another thing that bringing him back does is, and this is another thing that pisses me off. It's like, you know, they expect people, to get excited about this. Meanwhile, we're just supposed to forget about all the bullshit that they've been pulling these past few years. I mean, let's not forget, Ant-Man and the, Ant-Man and the, sorry, I can't talk today. I'm so pissed off. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania bombed. Um, you know, Thor Love and Thunder was ice cream for bedwetters. It was just it, it was, I mean, literally, like, they made Thor into a fucking idiot. And, so that, like, that movie bombed. And then they had, um they had a pretty good level of success with, with they had a pretty good level of success with James Gunn's Guardians 3, but but it doesn't, but it still doesn't erase all the bullshit that they pulled, over the past few years, and all the fans, that they have lost ever since, um, and all the fans that they've lost, since they started pulling this shit. I mean, there's no, and I think really what it boils down to is that no one wants to take responsibility for their own bullshit. And that, like people don't like admitting when they're wrong. And it takes someone really, really big to be able to stand up and say, you know what, I was wrong. I'm sorry. And nobody wants to be that person. Nobody wants to be that person. And it's really, really shitty. But it doesn't surprise me at all, because these are the kinds of people, who unfortunately, who they hire these days in these, in these big time, bullshit companies. These are the kind of people that get hired. And, it, and I just, I really don't think that, that hiring, Robert Downey as, bringing him back, and another, you know what? Something else I completely forgot to mention. In addition to, in addition to the, in addition to the over 100 million that they had to pay him, he's getting his own private jet and a fucking trailer park. Those were apparently his terms for coming back to the MCU. I mean, and and don't forget, he already won an Oscar. He already won an Oscar for Oppenheimer. So did he need to return to the MCU after Oppenheimer? Absolutely not. Marvel brought him back because they were desperate. They know it's a shit show. They know it's a mess, and now they're running around. And now they're running around last minute trying to figure out just how the hell they can save their sinking Titanic of a franchise. And that's literally all this is. That's literally all this is. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting and it's bullshit. But you know what? This is the kind of thing that Marvel, this is the kind of thing, that Kevin Feige, Kevin Fucky, as I like to call him. And, these are the kinds of things that they do now. And obviously, in addition to bringing back Robert Downey, they're also bringing back the Russo brothers, who obviously directed, some of their biggest hits. They did, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. They did Civil War, they did Infinity War, and they did Endgame. And now they're being brought back for what is now called Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. I mean, I'm so fucking disgusted by this whole thing. I really don't know what else to say other than, if these two movies, end up failing, end up failing, then that's it. Marvel's going to go bankrupt. And honestly, I would be all for it, because this is, because if you look at all the damage that they've done, over the past few years, and just all the time, and all that time that they refuse to fix anything, and the fact that they're literally just trying, you know now, to fix everything is, I mean, I mean, like, seriously, like, I don't know what to say. I'm just, like, everything. And, like, there was literally a time when, in terms of actors, like, everybody and their mother wanted to be a part of the MCU. And that was obviously during their glory days. Like, you literally had like every actor lining up. You literally had like every actor, lining up to say, oh yeah, I would love to be a part of those movies, and count me, sign me up, and literally every single one of those actors, since this fucking mess started, has gone silent. I'm literally, like, I'm not even kidding. Like, every one of those, every one of those actors has gone silent since this mess started. And that alone should tell you something. Like, they finally got, like, Christian Bale, who is undoubtedly one of the best actors in Hollywood. They got him for one of the fucking shittiest movies of all time, that Marvel has ever done. Obviously, that being Thor: Love and Thunder, and they completely wasted him in that, in that massive shit show in that massive shit show that fucking clown, Taika Waititi, created. And I just, I and and the fact that this keeps happening, the fact that they keep doing this is, it's like, it's like you keep pulling the same bullshit. You keep pulling the same bullshit and expecting different results. It's like, that's not how it works. If you keep pulling the same bullshit, you're only going to get the same results, and they're not going to be good. I mean, but anyway, and and Kevin, and Kevin Feige, who leads Marvel, obviously by his massive ego, is, doesn't, obviously, he doesn't give two shits about, you know, uh, about the massive, um, mess that he's created. Let me remind people again that Deadpool and Wolverine is literally the only reason why it is proving to be as successful as it is because Ryan Reynolds fought like hell to get complete creative control over the movie. And he fought to the nail, and obviously he won because that movie was incredible. And literally the only reason why that movie is making the money that it is because, you know, is because of Ryan Reynolds. He loves that character more than anything. And, and obviously, he needs, obviously, he understands that the character needs to be done right. And that, and that's why that movie is, is doing, as well as it is. And because you can definitely bet that Marvel, you can definitely bet that Marvel and Disney are going to learn nothing from this. Because that's how all these big time bullshit companies work. When they have a success, they learn nothing from it. That's how this stuff works. I mean, but and like another thing, like I know Chris Hemsworth, because he said it himself, he's not going to come back and do Thor again unless it's serious. Unless it is, unless it is, like a more like serious take, unless it's, like unless you have something, like along the lines of the first movie, I guarantee you he is not going to do it again. Because he literally said as much. He literally said as much, and he literally even admitted that he hated Love and Thunder. But yeah, I mean, Marvel, in terms of, Doomsday and Secret Wars, everything is riding now on those two movies. And, and yes, and yes, obviously, Deadpool and Wolverine obviously is making a lot of money. However, it's not going to make up for all the money that they've been losing. It's not going to make up for all the massive, it's not going to make up for all the money they've been losing, and it's not, and it's not going to make up for all the fans that they've been losing. It's like, unless you're a complete fucking idiot and you just, and you just literally eat up, everything, everything, that Marvel and Disney put out, regardless of whether or not, regardless of whether or not, regardless of whether, it's any good or not. I mean, unless you're, unless you're one of those people, then there's no way in hell that it's going to make up, it's not, there's no way in hell it's going to make up for that. And I know that Ryan Reynolds is now campaigning to get a Logan style Blade movie, to get a Logan style Blade movie made with Wesley Snipes as like a final send off. To the character, which I think would not only be incredible, it would definitely make money, because like Wesley Snipes just recently reacted to the massive success that of his role in in Deadpool and Wolverine, and he's like he's obviously thrilled about it, and and given how much of a shit show the Blade the Blade reboot it is has been, Mahershala Ali's Blade movie has been, I really think, like if Marvel was smart, they would scrap that and they would just do a Logan style Blade 4 with Wesley Snipes, because I guarantee you that would make money. That would definitely bring people back to the theater. But yeah, no, Marvel is, Marvel has just, they've just been shooting themselves in the foot for so long now. And, and they just keep pulling the same bullshit and expecting different results. And obviously, Disney, Kevin Feige, that they're just, they're too fucking pig-headed, and they're just, they're too pig-headed and egotistical to to care about, like what's going on around them. All we can do now is, just wait and just, see, um and just, to just basically, watch the shit show unfold, unfortunately. Um, because, that's really what it's come to. I mean, nothing is going to, nothing is going to stop Fucky and his ego, uh, from continuing to ruin, the MCU. He's really like that kid in a toy store, that left, that left the store, bitching and moaning because, simply because he couldn't get the toy that he wanted. There used to be a time, when making a Marvel movie, was like an art form. It was like a love letter to the fan base. Now it's, now it's all about, like rushing it out as fast as, as fast as humanly possible. And, and just hope that it sticks, regardless of execution. And you know, that's all that they care about these days. That's all they care about these days. And it, and it's just, it's, I mean, I've already given you my thoughts on it. I simply came back for Deadpool and Wolverine. Um, Fantastic Four, as I said before, may or may not be good. They do have a comic book accurate looking, Galactus. Um, and I saw a picture today and I was like, wow, that looks unbelievable. Like, I can't believe that they didn't fuck this up. But yeah, no, that may or may not be good. Um, I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm not going to get my hopes up just yet. I'm going to need to see more. Um, I'm going to need to see more, but Galactus does look incredible. So, um, Galactus does, Galactus does look incredible. So that gives me, a small glimmer of hope that it might, be good. Um, but due to, obvious reasons, I'm not going to get my hopes up just yet. But yeah, no, but yeah, no. So let me know, what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think. And like, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. And it looks like I need another beer. So Anyway, peace.